Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Rigged Podcast, the first and only podcast that covers sports conspiracy theories. My name is Trey.
I'm Lawson Blake.
I'm Jack Betts.
So for this episode, we're going to be covering the biggest headline in basketball, which is not Victor Wembanyama, not Luka Doncic. It's actually the NBA's latest gambling scandal, which includes insider betting, rigged poker games, and mafia connections. So the theory we're going to be breaking down is whether the NBA is covering it up or not. Guys, have you heard anything about that on social media this past week?
Absolutely. It's a very hot topic. People have completely forgot that Wembanyama is terrorizing the league this season. But they are talking about the way that Terry Rozier is throwing the ball away, and Chauncey Billups is now complicit in a gambling scheme.
I've seen it all over. I've seen that they've got 30 plus people in on it, and they say more names are going to come out.
Yeah, so the FBI just announced the other week their investigation, which is what we're going to be covering right now. I'm going to start out here with some of the facts currently going on, which number one is the insider betting allegations. So Terry Rozier was investigated for sharing injury info before exiting a March 2023 game, enabling over $200,000 in bets on his under. There's clips online, I'll probably have them rolling here, where he was seemingly like throwing away the basketball at this rate. It did not look like he was even remotely trying to play winning basketball, and he makes really good money to be throwing it away for $200,000 in bets.
I saw that. It was like a minute-long clip, and every play he just throws it out of bounds, almost like he's just purposely doing it.
Yeah, so another part of that is Damon Jones, who is a longtime former NBA player from the 2000s. He's been long connected to LeBron James. He's accused of leaking out LeBron James and Anthony Davis injury info for Laker games for bettors. He was indicted as well on that, as well as Chauncey Billups, who is identified as co-conspirator number 8 in the FBI's investigation, allegedly tipping off gamblers about player rest decisions while coaching the Trailblazers. Do you guys, any thoughts on that?
Damon Jones actually made the mafia that he tipped off mad because he tipped them off incorrectly. He had information leading to that LeBron and Anthony Davis were not going to play in the game, and they ended up playing in that game and winning the game. And those fellow conspirators were very aggravated, and they wanted their money back because he made their bet not cash, as so is reported.
Do you know how much the mafia lost on that game?
I do not.
We
can only speculate that it was a lot of money.
Yeah, well, on top of that, with Chauncey Billups and Damon Jones, they were also tied to rigged poker games, including X-ray tables and marked cards, where it's using, I think, special glasses, I think you said earlier on that?
Yep, the mafia had spent time and got special glasses for the players that they had rigged, where they could see the marked cards. So I guess the way that it was found out is the FBI uncovered some of those glasses, and they potentially found the cards too that were marked.
Yeah, so I saw online that these games were organized by the mafia families, and the victims fell into these traps by wanting to play with these NBA players, and they were gambled out of $7 million. Crazy.
So is it true that they would just come to these games because it was the NBA, like the celebrities would all be there and they wanted to play?
Yeah, I think that's why there are more names that are potentially going to be added to that list, but right now all we know is Damon Jones and Chauncey Billups is a part of that. On top of that, over 30 individuals were indicted on these charges. Rozier and Billups are placed on indefinite leave by the NBA, and the NBA has sent out a league-wide memo reviewing injury report and betting policies, and Commissioner Alden Silver calls the allegations deeply disturbing and emphasized the league's commitment to competitive integrity. Weird timing that now he's all of a sudden sending out league-wide memos, don't you think?
It is very weird, considering the NBA had launched an investigation several years ago into Terry Rozier, and they had not found him guilty of participating in these things. Terry Rozier's agent had currently made a statement that Terry Rozier is not a gambler, but would look forward to winning this battle in court.
Well, we'll get into our next part here, which are the counterpoints to this conspiracy. Again, all of this investigation is still going on. There is no definite right or wrong answer. At the moment, the NBA has not been directly accused of orchestrating or covering up any schemes. The internal investigations have found no rule violations in Rozier's case, and although they lacked subpoena power for that, the way that case was uncovered was through legal betting. These suspicious betting patterns were flagged by licensed sportsbooks, showing that regulated markets can actually help identify misconduct rather than be the cause for it. So we've got some more of that, as well as the case is leaning more towards individual misconduct rather than a coordinated league effort. Again, Terry Rozier is not part of the Chauncey Billups poker games and vice versa. The NBA previously banned Jontay Porter last season for betting violations, showing that the enforcement is active by the NBA and they do follow through on these investigations if there's enough evidence. So I guess we'll see. The due process is still ongoing. All accused parties deny any wrongdoing, and the NBA and the Players Association emphasize that the presumption of innocence until proven guilty. So
I do think it's cool how they found this out through the legal sports betting, and that, there was $200,000 put on this game. Then that's usually not likely that it flags it. And
I think it helps for a lot of these investigations, because back in the day, it used to just be underground betting, and that would only be found out if someone was wearing a wire or was somehow in the know. But now that all that stuff is public and these sports betting places are working with the NBA, it seems to help on these investigations in the long run. Lastly, before we talk about whether or not this is rigged or not rigged, I do want to go into the most famous gambling suspension and the widely covered conspiracy that a lot of fans think is true, which is the Michael Jordan gambling suspension theory. What do you guys know about that before I get started here?
I haven't heard much about that. Could you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I can. So the allegation is that Jordan retired immediately after winning 3 straight championship rings in his prime. At the time, he was under scrutiny for gambling, including a $57,000 check to convicted drug dealer, which Jordan admitted was to cover gambling debts. He also had claims from another businessman that Jordan owed him $1.2 million from gambling on golf, and he was seen in Atlantic City the night before a playoff game against the Knicks. So the theory is that Jordan didn't actually retire, but instead was serving a secret suspension by the NBA to protect both the NBA and Michael Jordan. The NBA launched an investigation but found no violations, and then Jordan returned to the league just 2 years later and won 3 more championships. Since then, NBA Commissioner Adam Silver and David Stern had denied any suspension ever happened. Jordan cited the personal loss of his father's murder and burnout as the reasons for stepping away, and there's been no evidence has ever confirmed a suspension, and Jordan has constantly denied betting on NBA games. With that being said, though, many fans believe there's not burnout and that the death of his father was actually connected to those gambling suspensions, which is why the NBA might have suspended him for that quietly. Any thoughts on that before we get to our final segment here?
Yeah, it's when something stinks, someone's probably up. So it is very well known that it is a very well known conspiracy that Michael Jordan's father was potentially murdered for his gambling debts, and it lines up with all the storylines. So I think that is very likely what happened.
All right, so this last segment here, we're going to be deciding whether or not this is rigged or not rigged. We've gone over all the facts, whether it could be true, whether it's not true. We still don't know the answer to the investigation. What are your guys' thoughts as of right now?
Just based on the clips of Terry Rozier throwing the ball away, I mean, he does 360 out of bounds and a bunch of plays that are completely unreasonable for a player of his caliber to make. I mean, Terry Rozier plays championship-level basketball. He's a very good player. And for him to make those sorts of moves, there's got to be some sort of external factor affecting him. So I say rigged.
I agree with Lawson. Watching just that 1 minute clip, it's obvious that he's throwing the game away.
So what are your guys' thoughts on the NBA potentially covering up this? Now that we see that Terry Rozier is more than likely part of this gambling scheme, do you think the NBA is trying to cover it up with their investigation, or do you think they really didn't find anything wrong?
It wouldn't necessarily be the first time they've done some sort of cover-up, so I'd say that it's very likely that it could have happened.
Yeah, after hearing about the Jordan scandal, they could be doing this all the time. There maybe there's more we don't know about.
Very true. So our producer Trent is back here as well. I would like to ask, since you've been listening in on this the whole time, do you have any final thoughts? Do you have an opinion on this at all?
Yeah, I think it was rigged. There can't be that much money that's being won off sports betting without somebody knowing what's going on. But that's just my opinion.
All right, well, there you have it. There's our opinion here. We'll keep up with this story as it unfolds in our later episodes. Next week, we're going to be covering NBA draft conspiracies. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We'll see you in the next one.